And we are live with Jace. G'day, Jace, bro.
Kia ora, Pat.
So some people would have just received a notification. Actually, I should look at my phone. It'll probably pop up either on...
Yeah, I have a notification on Facebook. There we go. I'll make sure that I don't actually have the mute unordered. Yeah, there we go.
So for people who don't know, this is Jace, who works as a behind the scenes. When you see us having a producer in studio and you get that wide shot, you often see Jason's head probably, 98% of the time?
Yeah, well, back in the day when we when we actually had guests in the studio.
When we were allowed to be within a kilometre of one another.
Yeah, exactly. Up to about, what was it, episode 71 or something like that?
Yeah.
We were doing this in the studio, and then I obviously have been out of the show directly for the last 40 episodes. But still making sure everything works, Pat, and that you don't break anything.
But not really out of the show because, oh, look, I should do this. Hang on. We should be professional. Oh, and I haven't got this one on either. Look, when I don't do a show, I'm not prepared. In this one, there we go.
You've got the. Is that your light? No, that's the one above you.
That's the one over my shoulder. Yeah, both on at the moment. But what people don't know, we're really just talking like this, like it's an interview, in case people are tuning in, because we're going to do some testing of some new ideas. So if anyone is watching or tuning in, you have been incredibly...
You should probably switch to the full shot, Pat, because at the moment you're still on the tour, aren't you?
I am on the tour. Jason's been incredibly busy behind the scenes with he is a technical guru, and we are going to try a new system of having conversations where we have some special technology that enables us to go from a one shot to another shot. So if I say, hi, Jason.
Hi, Pat. How are you?
See, that's kind of...
So now I'm doing myself out of job, because that was my whole job, was to sit there and push buttons to make sure that whoever was talking was being seen. And now the technology is taking my job.
Even though you and I, this feels a bit weird talking to each other about sort of technology, but to do with this, why don't you explain to the good people what we've actually set up and what we're trying to do? Because for people who don't know, Jason is a filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, a videographer, incredibly highly skilled in all those areas, and basically is responsible for how we have even got this thing off the ground when it comes to the technical side of things. Tell us a little story about the process, mate.
Do you mean like the actual setup we use?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've been part of this journey. People see me, and they hear from me and stuff, but they don't hear from me. And you've been part of this journey since day one, which we're approaching 2 years, and 120 broadcasts.
What was it? It was September. What was the date of September where we had Mighty Ledbetter on?
I don't know. I actually thought it was August, and makes you just kind of think maybe it is exactly.
Actually, I have a funny feeling it was like August 27th or something, and so maybe we're actually almost at 2 years, like in 3 days or something.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, back in when we first started, I think it was about the first 30 episodes. We were using all my equipment, so my cameras, my computer, my mixing desk, everything like that, and we were packing in, setting up for 2 hours beforehand, doing the interviews, then spending an hour packing down, and then going home again. So it was like a 4.5 hour job to do one podcast. And now you have graciously put your money where your mouth is and bought all of the equipment. So now we have the Doc Studios owns its own cameras, it owns its own computers, mixing desks, and camera switching equipment. So yeah, it's all go now.
So way back in those early days, we were working with a group called Petri Dish. Petri Dish is a building in Dunedin that's like a shared office space. And they were really, really supportive of what we were doing. And basically for the first, what did I say? So if we've been approaching 2 years, let's say for the first 14 or 15, well, let's say for the first year, 12, 40 months, they gave us a space, didn't charge us anything, just gave us a space to work out of, which is why, and I'm kind of looking at my computer as I'm talking to you about this, to kind of almost go and have a bit of a look, which is why when you see some of the earliest podcasts that we did, here we go, if I go see all, then switch to the computer, you see in the background of these shots here, see there's a lovely brick background of that one, brick on, so that's in the same place, that was in the penthouse, that was in the penthouse, that was in the penthouse, but then when Jeremy came on, we were in a different part of the building, hence a different background. When Alex came on, different part of the building. So we spent these first, and then when first time we had Rob Patman on, we were actually in a cafe downstairs from memory, weren't we? So we kind of floated around the building, so you can the backgrounds are all different there, they jump around. and they gave us
Yeah,
the space to do it.
wherever the space was available, they would let us so that we either floated between their boardroom fishbowl thingy or their penthouse apartment, which was where most of it. And then what was it? Looks like Jack Tame 23 was their first time we were in quote unquote our own space, which they graciously gave us, and then we were in that space for about 20 or 30 episodes, and then we moved to another space which was almost identical, and we're in that for about 20 or 30 episodes, and then we moved into a big space, which we actually started paying a little bit for. Well, should I say Pat started paying a little bit for. And we did, 2 episodes in there before we went to level 4. We literally spent every time we moved, once we got the equipment, we spent about 3 days, 4 days setting up the new studio.
I don't know.
So putting in walls, rigging up lighting, sound panels, making ourselves a nice home.
Yep.
And then literally like 2 weeks later, we went into level 4 and we weren't going to be able to have any more guests. And so we pulled the plug on that and built the studio underneath Pat's living room.
Yeah, so we're talking about that one there with Jack Tame. You can see again, if I roll onto it, the background's different. That was actually in the elevator shaft of the building, the Petri dish building, and they let us be there for nothing because they couldn't rent that space out because it was eventually going to get turned into an elevator shaft. And then from that room, even though we set up in that room, I don't know, several weeks later, we then moved a couple of doors down the corridor, and then as Jay says, we moved into, I guess, what we'd consider our studio. There's actually videos on here. Oh, we were there for Tim Batt, weren't we? So we could just do this actually and have a look. Tim Batt was in that studio, I'm pretty sure. So it was it was a beautiful thing. Yeah. It was a beautiful space. So
I think I due to schedules, I think I was actually I only operated or produced a show in that space once. I think Tom produced the other 2 shows we had before we had to pull the plug on that studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that work and building acoustic panels and rigging lights from the roof and running extension cables everywhere and drilling holes in the wall to mount TVs and the rest is history.
In saying all of that, though, I mean, one of the reasons we've had to pull away from that is because obviously, COVID changed the world. But as you say, you can't see it now. I haven't got the other cameras turned on, so I can't show you. But now there's a little studio space in my house. Didn't want to leave Petri Dish. In fact, they've talked several times to Petri Dish about, in the future they're going to do some more building. Might end up being back there, but for now, wander down the stairs and set up the studio. So this new system we've got set up seems to be going quite well, Jason. I don't know if you watched there and noticed here, but while you were talking, I flicked to the 2-shot, as they say, as well. So
I did. I've got the delayed coverage, as they say, coming up on my other screen here to check that we're all working, and it appears that the idea is working, and we're taking our podcast Zoom wise to the next level, which is good.
I think one of the reasons we're doing this is for anyone who does pick up on this. We might leave this up. We were originally going to do this and just delete it, but maybe we'll leave it up as a bit of a chat. You guys get to meet Jace. Is we've got the Right Honourable Winston Peters tomorrow afternoon, and I just thought, fuck me, imagine testing it for the first time on Winston Peters, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work. So I didn't want to take that risk. So basically, what we're doing now is testing this new system we've got set up and having a bit of a chat at the same time.
That's right. The politicians test policies on us all the time, so we can test our systems on them.
All right, mate. Hey, lovely to chat to you. Maybe we should wrap it all up now and shut it all down now. I saw there was a couple of people watching us on Facebook. Thank you for watching us on
probably
Facebook.
Me and maybe somebody else, like my wife or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe this will be also a good time to let people know, if you want to know more about us, you can head to thedoc.nz, or if you want to watch us, people who listen to us, you can get us through iTunes, Spotify and Stitcher, and if you want to watch us, you can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on YouTube as well. YouTube we don't push as much. It's more of a repository for episodes, and when people internationally want to watch it, like we had David Packman on the other day, who then put us on his site, and that's had, I think, 27,000 views at the moment, the full episode. So that's what, but the best place to probably find us to watch is on YouTube, which I'm wondering maybe if that's where people will find this. All right, my friend.
All right, Pat. Good to chat. Glad it's all working, and I look forward to one day in the future, who knows when, actually being back in the studio as your producer rather than being at the end of a phone fixing problems.
Well, because we're setting this all up, pardon me, to work remotely. So the cool thing about what we're doing now was the cameras are actually switching independently of each other is that, you know, the world will turn into more of an independent, and producers will be producing out of their own studios to people on the other side of the city, or other side of the country, other side of the world. And who knows what the next iteration of technology will bring in for content creation, eh?
Exactly. I just said the next step is me figuring out how I can produce everything from my desk here in my office, and not even have to get in my car to come to the studio.
I wonder if that's actually a business model at some point. You know, you set up a studio somewhere in some part of the world, and your job is to produce other people's content. And so you might have 50, you know, various content creators dialing into you, sending their video into you, and you produce them. Not you necessarily, but the person who sets up the studio becomes like an independent and remote producer for numerous people working, you know, in other parts of the country or world. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, and then just have to have the six systems that are all talking to each other and making our podcast studio work will become 12. And then there'll be so many things that could go wrong that I'll probably have a mental breakdown.
Yeah. All right, dude. Hey, well, you stay right there. We're going to leave anyone else who is watching us. Thank you if you watched us, and let's keep talking. Keep talking off the actual internet, you and I, because I can't say rude things on the internet. We'll say them once we get off.
We say rude things all the time on the internet.
Oh, well, I'm not experienced in that, so we'll just leave it at that for now. All right, see you, team.